وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن هذا القرآن يقص على بني إسرائيل أكثر الذي هم فيه يختلفون وإنه لهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين إن ربك يقضي بينهم بحكمه وهو العزيز العليم فتوكل على الله إنك على الحق المبين إنك لا تسمع الموتى ولا تسمع الصم الدعاء إذا ولوا مدبرين وما أنت بهاد العمي عن ضلالتهم إن تسمع إلا من يؤمن بآياتنا فهم مسلمون صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين إن هذا القرآن يقص على بني إسرائيل. This is the Quran, so we are doing Surah Naml. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this Quran surely mentions to Bani Israel most of the matters, أكثر الذي هم فيه يختلفون, the matters in which they dispute. So the things that their ulama, even their knowledgeable people, disputed about and they did not have true knowledge of, many examples of which we have read about. For example, the story of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, that who was the messenger who was pushed out by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, made to leave the Levant and go to Egypt. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them that this was Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam and told the whole story. Similarly, there's other matters, and the biggest dispute that they wanted to create, and they did create, was about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. This Quran tells everything very clearly to them, relates to them. وَإِنَّهُ لَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. This Quran is for those who believe in this. It is guidance and it is a mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this world it shows them the way, and it is mercy in this way that it, by way of, in relation to the end, it is mercy for the believers, that even if there is hardship in this world, there is mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who believe in the hereafter. Inna rabbaka yaqdi baynahum bihukmihi wa huwa al-azizul alim. The things that these people do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sure your Lord will decide between them by his judgment. Wa huwa al-azizul alim. He is the one who is befitting of deciding, because he is Al-Aziz and Al-Alim, the Almighty, All-Powerful and All-Knowing. Whatever they hide, whatever they show, whatever they plan in their hearts, whatever they believe in their heart, whatever they portray, all of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very soon going to decide between them. فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is told that you rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّكَ عَلَى الْحَقِّ الْمُبِينَ. And there is consolation for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that innaka, definitely you are on the right, open, clear truth. Innaka alal haqqil mubin. Innaka la tusmi'ul mauta wa la tusmi'us summa ad-du'a idha wallaw mudbirin. You cannot make the dead to hear, nor you can make the deaf to hear. Surely this is not within your capacity. Idha wallaw mudbirin wa la tusmi'us summa illa summa ad-du'a idha wallaw mudbirin. You cannot make the deaf to hear your call when they turn their backs and retreat. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِهَادِ الْعُمْيِ عَنْ ضَلَالَتِهِمْ. Nor can you show the right path to the blind. عَنْ ضَلَالَتِهِمْ, against their wandering astray. So these three examples or comparisons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made is of non-believers, disbelievers that have chosen and decided for themselves that they will never believe. First is the dead person, that even if they hear or if you make them hear, it does not matter. The real listening, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling listening here, Hakim al-Thani rahmatullahi alayhi, may Allah bless him, he has clarified it, that it is not the listening of the ears. What Allah is talking about is basically what Allah means is the acceptance of truth. So the dead, even if they hear, they will not listen, or it is no benefit for them to hear and accept. Similarly, the person who is deaf and has turned their back away, you cannot call them, you cannot bring them to righteousness, and neither can you guide the blind person against their wandering astray. When they want to wander astray themselves, then you cannot guide them to the right path. In tusmi'u illa man yu'minu bi ayatina fahum muslimun. This part of the ayah clarifies that what Allah means by listening is iman over the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In tusmi'u illa man yu'minu bi ayatina fahum muslimun. You can show the right path, or you can make no one to listen except those who believe in our verses. فَهُمْ Muslimun, then submit themselves to Allah. So this listening is basically not the listening that we are talking about from the ears, rather acceptance of truth. Allah is saying that you can only make those people listen who bring belief. So the listening part is acceptance basically. Now under this ayah there is a discussion about do the dead people hear us? And there was in fact a divide among the Sahaba about this as well. Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha was of belief that dead people cannot hear. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma and others, many others, were convinced that the dead can hear us. The clear and easy thing to understand about this is that Allah has the capacity to make possible whatever and whenever He wants. If Allah sends the capacity among the dead that they hear us, then that is possible. This is the reason why we are told to say salam to the dead people when we go to the graveyard. This is the reason why at the end of Badr, the way of the Prophet ﷺ was that when he was conquerors, he would stay in that place for at least 3 days. So the third day after Badr, the Prophet ﷺ went to that well where the dead bodies of the leaders of Kuffar were dumped, and he talked to them as if they were listening, and they said that, do you like your this state, or do you like essentially, would that have been better that you heard me and listened to me in your life, and now do you know the truth? So if I remember correct, one Sahabi, Umar radiallahu anhu, if I remember correct, he asked the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, you are talking to such people who cannot listen. And the Prophet ﷺ said that you do not hear me any better than how they are hearing me. And there is hadith in Bukhari and others where they clearly state and hint that the Prophet ﷺ understood and expected the dead to hear. So the judgment between that is that whenever Allah wants, He makes people hear, even the dead ones. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want, He does not let them hear. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among the people of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the right path and make us steadfast on it. Amin ya Rabbil Alameen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. There is a narration also mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ has told us how it happens, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the spirits of the dead. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends for the dead to hear, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the spirits back for some time where they hear, and then those spirits are taken away. So that is possible and proven from the hadith. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا.